Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We absolutely are.
And we're super excited. We have Tamanna back with us today, and we're going to delve into a bunch of different things, and we're going to see where we end up going because she has a lot of different talents on dowsing and tantra and all kinds of different things. So we're going to just dive into it and see where we go. Before this, we were sort of talking about spiritual callings and things like that. So I thought I would just kind of lead off with that and what your take is on spiritual callings and how to bring those into your life a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Kim and Barb, for having me on the show again. It's very nice to be here. I am Tamanna. I douse people and spaces. And everyone has their own way of doing the spiritual calling. I could tell you a little bit about mine. Mine is it kind of started at birth. Okay. So when I was born, I died. My lungs collapsed. And so when my lungs collapsed, they pronounced me dead and then resuscitated me back. And so sometimes, and this is in St. Luke's Air Force Base at the hospital. And so as they're resuscitating me, I came out my mom one day, but when they resuscitated me, it was the next day. And sometimes when you have these types of experiences, it can bring on psychic gifts, things you never knew was possible, a change in life direction. So I think mine kind of started really, really early. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's already close to the vortex down in Sedona. I was born on a military base, so we already know what the military bases are. But mine didn't fully come into tuition until later on, in my 30s, and so to speak, 20s and 30s. So how I came into Tantra, I think I'm not sure if I covered this story in the last one. How I came into Tantra. But I was working for a Fortune 500 company, and I just got to work, and I was sitting in my office, and I shared the office with my boss, right? So me and my boss were close at the time. And I said, hey, listen to this. And I played him the message my significant other at the time sent to me before I got to work. And it was so nasty, so vile. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you still in my space? Get out. Bees. It was so nasty. And what he called me, and my boss was like, you need to get out of that relationship. It's volatile. And I was like, well, how do I keep ending up in these type of situations? It can't always be the man. Some part of me is accepting this and bringing this into my space. And he said, okay, yeah, but you need to get out of that right now, right? So that began my Tantra journey. Like, I was like, okay, well, we need to figure this out because I'm looking to get married. I'm looking to have a great relationship. I don't want to have it be volatile. I'm not a violent or volatile person, so I don't understand why this is like this. So my journey began with, books. I studied things like Geisha, Kama Sutra, how to be a siren, sexy goddess, you're a gate, and all of these stuff. And I started working on this, took some classes, yes. And I discovered a Tantra book. And that book said you cannot learn Tantra from a book. You have to learn it from master to student, from mouth to ear. So I immediately closed up the book. I dropped it. I said, I need to find a Tantra person to learn from because that is so fascinating. So I was looking and searching, and it was a podcast just like you guys. The teacher was on that podcast. He was explaining the Tower of Tantra, how Tantra resets your DNA, how it gets you on your life purpose, and how to show up well in your relationship, and so that you're not attracting the same things that you're trying to get away from. And I was like, man, this is great. And then he said the magical words, I'm thinking about moving to Atlanta. I said, awesome. Let me reach out to him. So I reached out to him, finally got in touch with him. I was like, look, I'm looking to learn. And I gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. And he accepted, and I was off to the races. He lived with me at my house at that time. Fast forward past the relationship stuff, I had bought a house, but lived me in that house at that time for 2 years. You know, when you go to a new area, you don't really know the area. Like you need like that first one just so you know which area that's going to be a permanent one. So that was the arrangement. It was a win-win. So I learned from it and all that. Within 30 days, I had a reset of my DNA. I went back into my childhood. I cleared up my emotional traumas. I realized that because of what happened between me and my baby's father, I was still bringing it forward. I cleared that. I became multi-orgasmic. I was starting to heal and project to other people to where they're getting their traumas out. They're starting to be multi-orgasmic. I stepped outside of my box, out of my comfort zone, and had my first chocolate party. And ladies, it was fun. People came in there. They was like, oh, it's just going to be another stupid, boring house party with chocolate. Everything was made from chocolate. 7-course meal. Everything had chocolate in it. The chicken had chocolate. The salmon was made with chocolate. It was like, how does salmon and chocolate? I like chocolate and I like salmon. I don't see how that goes together, but it was wonderfully deliciousness. And people who were like just learning or curious about Tantra, we did a little bit of no contact table work during that, so they got to experience that. And then we went into the 7-course meal of everything with chocolate, and everything was a chocolate party. By the end of the party, everyone had a great time. They was wondering when the next one was. This was fantastic. And all of that came from a horrible message that my significant other left me that started me on that journey. So, you know, we all have awakenings at different times. And unfortunately, it usually causes a tragedy for us to have to do that type of awakening. But that is how I came into Tantra. And I advocate for Tantra all day. Tantra brought dowsing. Tantra, you know, activates gifts. It's not all about sexual stuff that you see of the Hollywood woo-woo. Is that a part of it? Yes, it is. But it's like a little piece of pie when you're missing out the whole pie. Like, you know, you get to learn yourself. You get to learn your partner. You get to relate with others on a level that is greater than words. Most communication is 70% nonverbal. So you have not only your body cues, but you also have your auric field, which you learn to be sensitive and communicate with Tantra. So it's not just oh my gosh, this is great. I mean, that is good too, but that's not all of it. Like by any means or stretch of the word where it goes. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, totally.
That does make sense.
Totally.
Well, and I think when you tap into your body too, because I believe that's a lot of what Tantra is really listening to your body and reveling in these, really noticing like the, you know, wind on your skin or whatever to really heighten your feelings. You're really getting into your divine essence with it. And so that just goes outward into your life beyond that, you know, intimacy, and it's good for that, but it's also good to push you in other areas of your life is what I'm hearing from you anyways.
Yeah.
That you mentioned the divine, because one of the first things that you learn in Tantra is the different aspects of divine feminine and divine masculine. So with the teacher that I have, he's like, look, you are composed of 10,000 plus years of your ancestors. So you have all these DNA, this good DNA in you, like that just is waiting to be activated. And so with all these traits, we kind of put them into 4 buckets. And once I tell you, you kind of, you know, you and your listeners who done any type of research on Google, it'll kind of sound familiar, like the maiden, the siren, the sexy one, right? They call that the elegant rose, the one who's pleasurable, who's very nice to look at. Her hair is done. She smells nice and all that. Yeah, that too, that's a bucket. And then you have your moon or your mom, your nurturing, your nesting one, that one that is refreshing, the one, not the moon is actually the strongest one. Most women like to gravitate, well, I just like to look good. And, being Beyonce that's the ultimate. But in actuality, the moon or the mother is the ultimate. She's the first teacher. Here we go with teacher again. She gives without depleting herself. Like her love is what is it called? It's never ending. Like it's an overfull cup. It never gets empty. It's always overfilling. And she nurtures with that. She nests with that. People come to her to get refreshed so they go back into the world. That is the moon energy, right? That's what makes us good moms.
Yeah.
God bless the moms. I right? Tell you, they I'm a parent now. I got teenagers. I'm just like, God bless us all. And then the third one is the treasure chest. That is the one that was the one that is able to make money. So not necessarily, not to get confused, where I go out to a job and make money. That is not kind of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is being able to get resources and multiply it. So think of things like couponing, owning your own business, starting a home business from home, doing creative crafts that sell on Etsy, things that you could take and multiply it. And then community driven, like, girl, I'm here for you and you're here for me. Let's get this community thing and let's share resources. I make dinner on Monday, you make dinner on Tuesday, and that way we don't have to work that hard. That is treasure chest, that community building, community resources. And then the last one is the seated hawk. That's the croon. We all know the psychic woman, the queen bee, the one who can intuit things in a future long distance type of thing that delegates to other people, like, okay, this is what we need to do in order to get to here. So all of those aspects of feminine nature, which have an equal but opposite.
Yeah. Can't hear you. Yeah. All of a sudden you're
gone again.
Gone. No voice.
Hold on, we'll see what happens.
Feminine aspects, all these aspects.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're back.
It's better. Okay, cool. So all of these aspects make us our perfect tree, our DNA. But what happens is life gets in the way, right? Trauma gets in the way. Expectations that are not our own, but are projected on us through our friends, family, and culture get in the way. Trying to compromise, trying to control or be right gets in the way. And that kind of like stifles our tree and stifles what God gave us to express as a divine feminine in this lifetime. That ego gets in the way. Yeah. So once you identify that ego, then you can like correct it so that more stuff can come online and you show up more well. And then, things improve. Like I don't have relationships like I started with that story. The next relationship I got in was probably the best relationship because it was so loving and it was so caring, along with the other good stuff that Tantra brings about it. But it was really a sense of, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it a different way and it'll be okay and it'll be all right and be great. So yeah. So that feminine aspect, so to speak. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, because it just feels like there's so many aspects to it that we, as we become more aware of ourselves and our bodies and our surroundings and, really what we want to, with, shedding some of those things of, I don't want to be in these relationships. And why do I keep attracting the same men or the same women or the same boss or whatever into my life? It's like, as you go through these things and you're learning these Tantra and these different aspects of it, it's like you're opening yourself up to be able to say, oh, I don't have to live that way anymore. I can live in this bliss state kind of thing.
Exactly. And so I guess we could talk about the fun stuff that the Tantra does bring. All right. So with women, I'm just going to cover women. Okay. So another thing when you do Tantra is you discover your orgasmic profile. We as women are very lucky on this planet. We have over 7 types of orgasms that we can experience. You have your clitoral, you have your G spot, you also have a P spot, a K spot, and a U spot, and those are all within. Then you have the anus. You also have breast orgasm. You can orgasm through your breast. You can orgasm with your mind, and then you can have full body orgasm where everything is just like if I touch you on your shoulder, Barb, you just don't touch me. But you experience those things once you wake up your potential, and unfortunately, only like 76% of women don't experience vaginal orgasm. They never had a vaginal orgasm unless it's with a woman or with an apparatus. And that's a problem. Like, I hate to say it, man, you need to step up your game. I'm sorry. But, a lot of the time they don't know. So it's a lot of education. A lot of women don't even know. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Yes. Oh, I just heard the G spot. No, there's more up in there. There's more treasure. There's more treasure. So in the tower of the Tantra, or the towel, not the Indian, but the more so Tibetan side of Tower of Tantra, they call it Heaven's Gate, to where you open each one of those doorways inside you. And then once they are open, you become extremely psychic. Like that's what you were designed to do, to be an oracle, to intuit stuff. It's the kroon, right? Mm-hmm. But again, most women either need another woman or an apparatus, which at the end of the day, it only leads to about 10% of men knowing what to do at any time and can do it, because on average, it takes a woman 20 minutes to orgasm. So if he can't hold space for 20 minutes, then you're going to be frustrated. But again, men don't know these things. So how would you know? Yeah. And then, that is also what, I bring to the table, was just bringing education. And I love to work with couples and married couples, because you always have that partner. You don't have to go out and find a partner. It's there, and you guys can learn and go from each other. But what I find is that even in the marriage, it's still, it's not the cervical orgasm is not existent, and it's just, they just don't know. So it's the education of yoni eggs. What are yoni eggs? Yoni eggs are crystals designed to awaken the reflexology points in the yoni. Why is that important? Well, if you look at your hand and you look at your feet, it's the same reflexology as in the genital reflexology. You're just clearing it in a different way. So looking at those things, and say, if your listener wants something, well, give me something I can do right now. The first thing I would say is get some yoni eggs. If you've never experienced a vaginal orgasm, the first thing you need to do is awaken that, because it needs some awakening. Yoni egg stretches and awakens that what's inside of you. You have 4 erogenous zones in you, and if you're not experiencing pleasure from those 4, then you're not living your life to the fullest. Yeah. And there are gifts waiting on the other side once those are awakened. There are gifts waiting for you.
Yeah, I would think so, because I would think the more in touch you are, the more you can bring into your life the things that you want. And I think, as women, I think sometimes we don't even know what brings us excitement, or, we just kind of go, especially on a sexual thing, we don't even know what excites us in our body and those kind of things. So, without knowing that, how do you even communicate that to your partner at that point?
True. That's true.
Right. So I think in learning this, you're getting in touch with yourself to be able to communicate that better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And so the yoni eggs were founded in China. They're made from jade. Jade is the healing crystal that is used. If you know anything about crystals, jade is a very good crystal for healing, resetting, and all that good stuff. So the original yoni egg was made of jade, and the empresses, it was only an aristocratic thing, would use that to tone their their candy down there, because they had to compete, right? So you have all these wives and concubines competing for the emperor's attention. And one of the ways that they did that is they toned their muscle down there so that it could be better in bed. So he would want to go with them. And thus, that if he goes with you, the likelihood of you to get pregnant and having the next succession was more higher. So it was more of a competition thing. But if you look in the readings of it, you'll see that it was a secondary benefit. Like they will go keep it in them and just be orgasmic, because it provides that and it awakens that other thing in them. It's not just about the man and him having his pleasure, that they had pleasure right there with them too. And they have different sizes of yoni eggs. So if any of your listeners are interested, if they had a vaginal birth, then they should get the largest yoni egg and work with that for a little bit, only a little bit, because you don't want to overwork that muscle, because if you overwork it too much, he can't get in there because you're too tight. But the medium egg is what most women use. And if you had C-sections or had babies where it wasn't vaginal, that is a good place to start. That is an excellent place to start.
So is it sort of like the Benoit ball then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you have this different size of the eggs you're talking about?
Oh, I can. Yeah. I can go pull out some. Yes. Okay. And then the minute one is the fine tuned one. Okay. So this one right here, I'm going to show this up in the screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
There. And if I had a size of a quarter, this is my phone. This is my cell phone. So.
Okay. So is that the largest one? This
is the medium one. This is what most people will start off with. So with this, and it has a hole in it, as you could see the hole. And that's where you're going to string it. Because once it get up in you at first, you're like, I don't know how to get it out. I can't. The string solves all that, right? The larger one is about this much bigger. And it's heavy. But, if you've had a vaginal birth, that heaviness is kind of what you need to tone it. But you're not going to do it long, a month at most, because it'll be too tight, right? And then you move to this one. And then the baby one, right? And this is a representation. This is a crystal, but it's the same size. As you can see, it's very small compared to this. Yeah?
Yeah, right.
Right. This is when you've gotten good at this and you're fine tuning. This is when you can go like that, and this is when the guy goes, "Oh my God, thank God for yoni eggs. This is the best." And, it's just like, okay, guy. And so with the yoni egg, I'm gonna just give you a brief description on how to use it and what I've seen what women can do once they tone their stuff. With the yoni egg, before you insert it, you got to sterilize it. So I used to tell people sterilize it in hot water, 10 minutes, right? Just to kill the germs. Some people are real spiritual with it. If you want to put it in salt, put it in the ground, that's fine. Just make sure you sterilize it before you do that. Mm-hmm. Also, there's some crystals that are not good yoni eggs. Any ones that are soft, because they're selling all kinds of yoni eggs. Any ones that are soft crystals like kyanite, please don't put that up in your stuff, because if it cracks or anything, you have these shards in your stuff, and that's just not a good day.
And that's a bad hospital visit.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain that? Be like, oh, we'll be to talk of the week. Okay, forget
Right.
the day, the week.
Yeah.
So soft crystals are no. Crystals with metals in it, like tiger's eyes, is a no. You will absorb that iron, and it's not a good iron for you to absorb. I like to keep it simple. I like to keep what has been worked in the past. One is jade, and the second one is quartz crystal or rose crystal, rose quartz. My smaller one is rose quartz. They're healing stones. You want this for healing, right? And then so when you insert it, you sterilize it, you got the string, and the string and stuff goes down, and you insert it, and you don't want to just, because you want to take your time to where it's moist down there, and then you insert. Now, can you go too far or too short? No, you just want to get it to where your sphincter will catch, and you catch it, right? So simple exercises that you would do could be, you could do this standing up or laying down, moving the yoni egg up 2 inches and then moving it down 2 inches. That's the only main exercise that you would do. Okay, there are other exercises, but I don't want to, or even simpler one is that you holding on to the egg is inside you, and you have the string, and so this is the front part of me, and this is the back, right? So I have the string, I'm pulling, but I'm trying to hold it. I'm pulling this way, but I'm trying to hold it with my sphincter. I'm pulling, but I'm trying to hold it. So I do 1, 2, 3, then go 1, 2, 3, and then go to the back and in the back. And that's your exercise. And you could keep it in there, right? And then do the moving it up 2 inches and moving it down 2 inches, right? And what that does is that gets you really quiet, really present with what's going on down there. And that is the secret to how you can direct somebody on what is pleasurable for you, because you are learning you. Like, doing this will get you in tune with those 4 other, that heaven's gate that I talked about, because it'll hit these parts, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what that feels like. Oh, that's okay, that's where it is. It's to the right. Oh yeah, I knew that, but didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? And some people will keep this in them for the day. Some people will keep it in there for a week. I don't advise you keeping it in during your cycle. Allow your cleaning process to process. And once the process is done, if you want to insert it back in there, you can, right? There's no two wrong answers, but it won't get stuck in there. It will eventually come out. If all you have to do is act like you're going number 2, it'll come out, right? At the same time, though, when you are going number 2, make sure you're mindful so it doesn't shoot out.
So when you're doing this, so a lot of people would relate to it as a Kegel exercise. Is that correct?
A Kegel, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
if you were doing your Kegel while you were holding the string, then would help you to move it up and down, correct?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yes, it would.
Okay, just so some people are more familiar with the Kegel than they are like, how do I do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So and that is a good analogy. Using the Kegel does help. I just want you to be mindful, though, is that as you moving it up and down, slow it down so that you understand that, okay, this is my vagina muscle versus this is my anus muscle. Does that make sense? Because sometimes it can get confusing. And what you want to do is really get granular, really get really close and personal with your vagina muscles. And so women, and it's sad, it's the Western women that, it's like, well, this is so new, this is so great. But in other cultures, this is like a norm. And I've seen women, and the men will tell you, because they don't, they'll probably tell their friends in their men powwows, but they won't never tell us why they go to certain places around the world, because women can do certain things. But in like the Asian culture, and I'm talking about Sri Lanka, Filipino, a little bit of Malaysia, maybe in Thailand, Singapore. They have women that will get coins, right? Insert the coins and can count exact change and shoot out exact change. That's how much in tune they are with their stuff. They have women that insert ping pong ball, shoot the ping pong ball
I've heard
from their
that.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're picking up. There was one woman here in the U.S. who was real big at one point, and she was lifting a surfboard with her yoni egg. I don't know if you guys, I forgot her name. I should look her up real quick. But she was really big. She's like, yeah, yoni power. She had one of these with a string and wrapped it around her surfboard. I don't advocate that because, again, lady, he has to be able to get in there. You will be so tight. That is strong. That is really strong. I don't advocate that. That's just for sensation.
So if you have the egg inside you, then you can also have sex while the egg is still in there?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I don't recommend if your man is well endowed and does not have control. But if he's, not as well endowed and does have self-control, yes, you can. Yes, the answer to your question is yes. And so they also have things like rods. They have this, it's like a wand. It looks kind of like this, but it's slender on one side and it gets thicker as you go up. And those are for women who, just want to do, I guess, a little something different. I don't have that much experience with the wands. The wands are also made out of crystals. Look at your lovely face. That women use to push on those pressure points, just to activate that K spot and that G spot, which is really close right there. So those are things that you could do to awaken those zones. And like I said, once all four are awakened, you can become extremely psychic, because that's you're awakening your DNA. That's what you were designed as a woman, as a female, because you're magnet. You're attracting those things, and that's all with that. I mean, the priestess and Delphi and the oracles, they weren't men, they were women. And there's a reason, because they were, activating that higher self through the orgasmic profile.
Wow. So this was started like a long time ago. This is not something new, right?
This is not. That is correct. Tantra has been around for hundreds of thousands of years. We typically, my style that I've learned is from India. So the Indian style, right? The Kama Sutra, the things like that. But there's also a Tao side, which is from Tibet, which deals more with with the Indian is more like very sexual, get more sexual. But with the Tao side, it's like, okay, let's use this energy to live a long time, to look youthful, to get insights and gifts, to reach God at the highest point. Both will get you there, but I kind of like more so the Tao side, because it's a little bit more, it doesn't go down the rabbit hole. Let's just put it that way. And then the last style you also have that I learned from my teacher was here in a Native American culture. They also have their own form, Tantra style. But it is more so using certain herbs and things to get your body really conditioned to have that. And what some of the things are is that water is so important. Like if you are not hydrated, you are not going to have a good sensual experience. And it's only because electricity needs something to travel through. And if you're not hydrated enough, it's not going to travel. Does that make sense?
So that would be on a man's end too, because lots of guys don't have enough water, right? They sit and drink all the other stuff, but so that would be on their line as well. Okay.
Exactly.
So would that be with a man too, like orgasmic? They wouldn't be able to orgasm as easily if they don't have the water nutrients going through as well as doing the Tantra side of it?
No, both sexes require a good amount of water.
Okay.
They require a good amount of water. They could require a good amount of proteins, a good amount of cholesterol, because all of those is what makes up these sexual hormones: proteins, cholesterol, water. So, you know, we know the diet was like, oh, cut this out and cut this out. But man, if you cut out too much, you're going to like diminish other things in your life. Now, as far as men, cannot orgasm on all the different ways that women can, but they do have other forms of orgasm other than penile. They have the prostate, they do have the penile, and they too can experience a full body orgasm. And depending on what kind of man it is and what his genes are, they can also have breast orgasms as well. The orgasm is dependent upon the water, the quality of water, the nutrients in an open system. Once you activate the vagus nerve, and that is the one nerve that you will hear over and over again when you're dealing with Tantra. Get in touch with the vagus nerve, activate the vagus nerve, activate the vagus nerve. Why? Because the vagus nerve controls so much of the body, from the belly button all the way to the head. If you hit that with some orgasmic energy, everything gonna light up. And that's what causes, right. That's what causes the full body orgasm. Is the vagus nerve. It's not woo-woo, it's very much science. So men do have a role to play too, but their role is more so holding space, like being able to control. It's like women, we need to get to the part where we lose control of the orgasm. But the men, they need to gain control because you got too much, go out there, orgasmic energy. So their thing is to stay focused with the breath. And so with men, I say, okay, don't think about baseball because you're diminishing the experience because you're tuning out, you're not becoming present because you're too focused about baseball. But what you need to do is slow down the breath because people start to orgasm when they become shortness of breath or they hold the breath. So, but if you slow it down, take deep breaths for the men, turning your feet inward. When you turn your feet inward, the pelvic bone kind of pinches that taint area so you can gain a little bit of control. Okay. Doing Kegels of the anus also helps control that. So that's what I teach the other couples. Slowing down the breath, putting your feet and pinching that. Focus on her. Gaze each other in the eye when you make love. Join breaths, breathe in and out at the same time. That's how you connect.
What about, I've heard too that through Tantra, sometimes you can lactate as a woman or a man because of the sexual experiences that you're experiencing. Is that true?
Lactate?
Like your breast, yeah, can actually lactate.
I've never experienced that personally,
okay.
But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
I've seen people healed from Tantra, like
okay.
from disease. I know I can only say but certain things because of the way the laws are, but I've seen people get healed from ailments with Tantra.
Cool.
Yes, I've seen some pretty incredible things. I've seen people most of the time when they're doing the table work and stuff, is that people will get toned. Like they'll lose like a lot of this. This will be the first thing to go because this holds in the belly, it holds so much trauma and stuff like that. Right. So if you're releasing trauma, the fat has nothing to hold on to, it goes. So that's usually the first thing that goes. That's how we know, okay, you're doing your work because you're losing weight and you're not doing anything extra because you're releasing. And and that goes for both men and women.
And that makes sense because I think the more in touch we are with our bodies, the more that like we can heal and do all of these different things, right? And then I think it just moves outward from there. So I can see how beneficial this would be to, start moving things forward in our life to bring, like you said, all these, intuitive things and psychic things in for us, which will just enhance our lives even more. And then on an intimate level, be a miracle also.
Good of your relationship, right? Good for your relationship. That doesn't hurt.
I love this conversation. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. So that was my journey. So when I did that and I stepped into this, it was very eye-opening. And the first time I had my first experience of, okay, now you have to deal with your stuff in order to move higher. Like it comes up, okay, now your stuff is here. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold on to this? It's mine. It's mine. You can't take it. You're just going to release it. You're just going to release. And my personality is, as I have a tendency I'm oral, first of all. So I have a tendency to go along to get along. Like I'll sacrifice myself. I'm the martyr. But then at the same time, I have a justification like entitlement. Like, you should be able to do this because, I did this. And then this third thing is having a lot of oral fixations. And it came on because I was abandoned a little too early in life. So between that time frame of 0 to 3, right? Either my mom, I'm thinking it's my dad, but because my dad was in the military, some parent that was stable went away. And so you felt abandoned. And so to compensate, well, if I rock the boat, then you'll abandon me. But if I don't rock the boat, you'll stay with me. Or I came off suckling too early. So to compensate, I have an oral fixation. So I have to be very careful of, things like smoking, drugs, things like that, because it can be but that's my oral personality. So those things were in the way, which led me to poor relationships because, again, I knew probably it wasn't the right thing, or you probably wasn't a good fit, but I didn't want to be by myself. So I'll just stay in this relationship in order not to be by myself. But you should be able to treat me better because I'm in a relationship and I really don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? So, and then all of the oral things that can come along with when you're self-medicating. So all of that played a part when I sat in my office with my boss, listening to that. And those were things I had to move out the way and overcome to be able to sit with you today and talk about it.
Well, we're glad that you did. I mean, for you and really.
Sorry. Congratulations on that moving forward in your life, though, that helped you to find yourself and the bliss that you were looking for you. And that, I mean, that's what this is about, right? Is helping women to restore that feeling of confidence and ways that they can find it to make them feel that true to them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's amazing. And I think you shared so much information with people that, this is something that they can go and practice and find their path that they want to go and what suits them the best, and how, getting rid of this, these trauma and these things, and knowing, like for you, for the oral thing, it's like knowing what your obstacle is and how to overcome it, or how to be aware of it, to be able to say, oh, I'm going to make these conscious choices not to do those things, to go down the wrong path that I started off on, but now have gloriously come out of. So that's wonderful. So we appreciate you sharing all of
You betcha.
of that.
It's always a pleasure with you anyways.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, yeah, we love just sharing space with you, and this hour is just like, holy crap.
Is it already an hour?
Bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
okay,
if you had a final thought to leave with everybody, what would it be?
The final thought, I would say, well, with Tantra or what we talked about, or just in general?
In general.
You,
Well,
girl.
the final thought, I think I kind of said that is unconditional love, learning to have unconditional love for yourself. Telling yourself every day that you love yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I love you. I love you. I love you, Barb. I love you, Kim. I love you. Just saying that and being able to look at yourself in the mirror. If you don't do anything, you can do tantra, you do whatever you want in the world, but at the end of the day, they're all going to tell you to open up your heart. And the way to do that effectively is to love yourself first. So having unconditional love for yourself is tantamount, is key. And then getting all those other good keys and discoveries and treasures from all these different schools of thoughts that you can do. But they'll all lead back to the self. They all come back to the self because that's where God is. God is in us. We are a reflection of him. And to help out in any way I can, if there's anything that we talked about that you would like more explanation for, need some help, guidance, or teaching you how to do that, you can look me up on various different social media platforms, or go to my website, www.couplingandthecalorie.com. Please excuse the mess because the website is being revamped, but it's almost done. It's almost done. Yes.
And which social medias are you on? Instagram?
Yes, ma'am. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. On YouTube, I do daily questions and answers. You could put that up, or you find that on my YouTube and some of my TikToks. And then on the TikTok, I do lives where I'd use the dowsing rods, teach people how to use dowsing rods and answer questions lives. And then, on TikTok. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. There's so much information and
Yeah.
just amazing sharing space with you again. We really appreciate it, and we
I
appreciate
hope
you
it was
coming
helpful.
on. And we'd welcome you back anytime and
Oh, wow.
see where the
Thanks.
journey goes. So
Yeah, you betcha.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care, ladies.
yeah, thank you. And everybody else, tune in next time.
Yeah, don't miss it.